So, hi everyone. My name is Yafim or Fima Kazak. I'm the plugin dev owner, the product dev owner of the HP Jenkins plugin. I'm here to talk to you and share of the lesson that we've learned developing the open source of this open source product in HP. And a little bit on the product and our challenges is that the product is with 8 stakeholders, 8 developers, 8 QAs, 8 PMOs, 8 group leaders, 8 team leaders, and 8 of everything, and soon to be even more. And you can only start guessing the challenges, and believe me, there are much more, because you need to deal with all of them and try to convince everyone to follow your agenda to make one open source product for your customers and for your HP customers. So, what is an open source in enterprise, and why is it even different from a regular open source? Well, I can sum it up in one word, which is scale. The scale is much bigger. The customers are enterprise, they're elephants. They want something stable enough for elephants to stamp on. They want something that is really reliable and not as other open source that developers usually use and touch. And can really check their code and fix the small pain points. Enterprise expected that when they get open source from enterprise, it's like a regular product. It's always stable, it's always reliable, it's like a regular product. They don't care it's open source or not. They don't care that, well, the enterprise company doesn't have the same resources as a regular product to give in. They want it to be at the same grade. So let's start with the lessons. Well, when we started the product, we understood that we need control. So we need to take the control over the SCM, over your code repository. Because when you have many developers touching the code, well, they do almost everything. They don't care of what happens afterwards because they just want to finish their day, mark the ticket, push the code in, and continue the day. So the first step and the first lesson was take control over your code repository. And well, then you become the dictator. Everybody hates you. I mean, why is it so hard to push the code in? Why do you make our life much tougher now? But you need to do that because that's the only way you can ensure that you have enough time to make the quality assurance you need, because as we said, we're enterprise. We need a quality open source product and not just another open source product that we can then take some tickets and defects and then fix them. No, we need stability from day one and we want to release it in time. But bear in mind that while you're the dictator, you need to have an open mind, because you still want the stakeholders inside your product. You want them to contribute code. You don't want them to leave you from the day one because you gave them much more effort. So you need to keep an open mind for suggestions, and that's not even only to open source. Always in life, you need to have an open mind and to get suggestions, because that's the only way to make a better product, but not always, okay? Not always. You have to get and to agree to everything which is suggested, because usually the first suggestion that you will get is, why? Why do you make my life tougher? Leave it. I mean, that was hard. Come on. We don't really need it. You can trust us. You can never trust developers. Really. I'm a developer. You can never trust us. We just want to push our code. So don't always give in and get all the suggestions. The second lesson, and it's really related to this day, is automation and CI/CD. You have to have them in place, and that's the best tool you have when you have scarce resources and you need an enterprise open source product, and well, any product, because that's the only way to ensure that you have a great way to ensure the quality of your product. You're starting with testing, and we've talked today on other measures, and you can do all of that in automated way, and to really stop wasting the time of the developers, because once they make a pull request, they expect it to be as fast as they were able to push the code in. So once you make everything automated, you put the hooks in GitHub to the pull request, you make the automated build, you make everything automated, it saves their time and it really makes much less effort than you on accepting the code in. But and one of the things that I've also learned, that it's not only the code. You don't only need to put the code in. You also need to think on the style of the code. You need to really see that the code is also in style, because as we said, we're enterprise product. We have HP or another enterprise company logo on the code, and you need to have that style in the code is really good and fits well with the logo of your company. It's not just any open source product. Everybody see the logo of your company. And the second thing is the legal stuff, the README, and all of that you really need to be really certain that everything fits well. And licenses are really not easy in an open source world. We're starting from MIT, and you have GPL, you have LGPL, you have Apache, and nobody knows but that other developers, and especially in our product, where there are 8 stakeholders putting tomorrow inside. I mean, not all the licenses, obviously not all the licenses play together. And if you don't keep a tight check on that, you might miss the day that the legal department will call you and ask you to shut down or remove codes because it simply doesn't fit your license. So we really need to check that. And of course, as part of the automated pipeline, you also need the manual step, because it's always easy to leave everything to automation, wait for the last stage. Either the build fails, either the build passes. But the truth is that you need to have that manual step where we review everything was in place, where we review everything really passed, or is it just passed, or it just, I mean, you always have those flukes in Jenkins. I don't know how many of you ever played with Jenkins, but sometimes there are flukes. It simply marks that as passed, but actually it's simply a step that didn't work. And you have to have that manual because you don't want to find it out after a version left your building. The fourth lesson is transparency. You have the customer and your support talking on one system. You have the developers and the QA talking in another system. You have the QA also talking on another system, and all of those 3 systems. And as I've said, you have not enough resources. So what you really need is to connect all of them, especially when you have an open source product with scarce sources. So you need to connect all of them to talk together. That's what we did. We even did it with one of our competitors. We currently use Jira because it's simply the industry basis for Jenkins plugins, although it's not our product, and actually I might say that I don't like it, but that's the system for Jenkins plugins, and we use it because it enables us to connect our developers with the QA from all the 8 products that we have in the plugin and our customers. And our customers are somewhat like our QA. Although they're enterprise customers, they're still kind of our QA, and when they give a ticket, a QA can check it, they can pass it straight to a developer, and all of that lives in one circle, one system for everything that makes our life much easier and less time. The 5th lesson, that was nice. So the 5th lesson would be that asking for documentation. And that's really the reaction I got when I asked for documentation from developers. Actually, every time that I ask for documentation from developers, that's what I get. And the reason is, again, time effort. It really requires more time. And why the hell do you need it in an open source product? I mean, why do you need documentation? Come on, let's push the code. We don't have time. We have scarce resources. Push it up. Come on. And the reason is that I guess 5 months ago, I got a call from a new developer. And he says to me, hi, I'm the new developer of X product. I'm starting to develop the Jenkins plugin. Tell me what to do starting now. Well, I said, okay, read that tutorial on Jenkins site, read that tutorial, talk to your neighbor. He was developing the plugin before. Read the code, and we're set to go in a week from now, start developing the plugin. A month afterwards, he calls me and says, dude, I don't know what to do. I'm lost. Tell me what to do. And I'm saying is, nah, not really. It's easy. Come on. Small line. It's not that difficult. I'm going to read the code and explain it to you. I've tried to read the code, and I was amazed. Nothing was readable. Nothing was even possible to understand because it's simply many parts and connected with another product, his product. And I'm kind of starting to understand him. And at that point, I've understood that, especially in a product where we have many developers in an open source product, where there are even external contributors and internal, you really need documentation to explain the classes and how others can contribute, and even more important, how other companies can use your code, because that's one of the best things in open source. Someone can take your code tomorrow and use it to make other great things. We had it in our plugin. Another company took our plugin and combined it with their CI. And it was only available and only possible due to documentation. I mean, that's the only way someone can understand how to extend your code and contribute. So it's really important. The 6th lesson that we've learned is about deployment. customers, especially in the enterprise world, and especially even enterprise companies, want the same product leaving the door, entering the enterprise company gate. And what we've met in Jenkins, specifically in Jenkins, is that when we wanted to deliver hot fixes or beta versions, and you can even say to any other open source product, is that we had to send it by email. And sending by email is like throwing the artifact at him and hoping he will catch it. Nobody will catch it in the way and switch it, and nothing bad will happen. And that's a really bad thing to do when you're a software company. You want to ensure that the same product coming out from your doorstep reaches the doorstep of your customer. And the only way to do this is about thinking on deployment, even on beta version and hot fixes. So what we did on that case, we started a custom update center for Jenkins, for example. We've said, okay, we need to deliver beta version, we need to deliver hot fixes. We can't really do that by email. We need to do it by a custom update center. And that's what we did. So always think on all the stages of delivering your software from the company to the customer and how he uses it. Another example is and connected to the update center, is when you send a hotfix to your customer, for example, again in Jenkins, it's an HPI file. Are all of your customers really know how to open an HPI file? Do they even know that all they need to do is to simply go to the Manage Jenkins, then Manage Plugins, then to the Advanced tab, then upload, and then install it, and then restart? No, they don't. Most of them don't even care. They will send another email to another administrator and hope that he will understand what we wanted him to do. And believe me, they don't. So enabling to simply going from the update center is much, much easier. So think on deployment. And the last lesson is from another reaction I got. Because after having all of this lesson employed and having said all of that, this is the usual reaction I got, especially from the managers, not from the developers, from the managers. You're asking for more time effort on testing, on more testing, on pushing the code. Come on, give me to push the product. I mean, don't waste my time. You don't get you don't bring money back to the company. I mean, you're kind of like wasting money, right? We're an open source product. We don't ask for money. We just give it to the customers. You don't bring money back. So why do you waste more time effort? You should be simple. I should even fill you in my user story points, right? Well, they should fill it because it's important as that. But the way to explain it is not by saying it's important because they don't understand it. The way to explain it is simply describing it in enterprise words. And when I'm saying describing it in an enterprise words, I'm saying explain that your open source product is like an enabler. It's an enabler for marketing. It's another thing that the customer gets as a benefit from the company. It helps them to push products. And there are many other ways to salt it. Just salt the benefits that you see, so it will be much more easier to understand on the enterprise side. I mean, from your colleagues, from your managers, to really get that time effort. You can't simply say that's important. They don't really care. They don't really care because they don't bring the money back. You need to tell them the benefits at a language they understand. And that's one of the most important lessons, because without it, you can't really make any of these changes. Without it, everybody will say, you're wasting my time. We need to make it fast now and work on a regular product. So you need to salt it and make it as simple as possible for them to understand the benefits of it. So, in sum, we've talked about controlling the SCM, being really open to suggestions. It's really important, not to losing everyone. Investing in automation, because it will really minimize the time and effort that is not really important for you as a product owner of an open source. Don't forget to have manual control points, because sometimes automation fails. And when it fails, it will fail you and mark it as passed. That's the law. It's like Murphy's Law. It will mark it as passed, and you will think that everything is right, and in the morning, or when it reaches your customer, you will find that a test have really failed, and it was a fluke in Jenkins, and it happens. Automation is not perfect. We need to have some kind of manual control. You can have it in pipelines in Jenkins. You can have it even in freestyle builds. It's really important. Don't forget about it. And documentation, so everyone can come back and contribute to your code and use it. Think on deployment, and inside company marketing is as important as working the code. It's what enables you to get more resources to push the open source product forward and making it better. Thank you very much. I would be really happy to get more questions if you have, even in Hebrew and English. So, thank you. Questions? Thank you.